All right, guys. This is UFC Charlotte live recap show on the Sherdog Radio Network. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of Sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, man? I can't hear you. You're on mute.
It's not even 5 o'clock p.m. How the hell do you think I'm doing? The sun is shining.
All right. I got to stop you right now. Ben.
Yep.
I know you live in Houston, but we go by Eastern time. It's 5:47.
Okay, it's not even 6 o'clock.
The only real time that matters, Eastern, New York City time or whatever.
Okay, we're seeing where it is, because I mean we've already established that to Keith everything outside of the 50 states is the third world, but now even just outside the Eastern Seaboard, I'm kind of a second class citizen here. Like Keith's true colors are showing out right now.
That's right. Well, that's where America started. Don't forget that. And we're really the world started.
Oh yeah,
right there in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Before we get started, run down all 11 of these fights. I want to give a shout out to all the listeners in the chat. There's a whole bunch of them blowing up. I was trying to throw up as many comments as I can during the countdown. Try doing that like that ESPN, UFC, the very generic ones, like, oh, I can't wait for the show. The ones that Adam Martin get on the screen. But I also want to thank the listeners. As you guys know, I said on the recap last week, I was diagnosed with shingles. You can still see it. You can still see it on my face and my neck, and it was torture, but I'm doing better. A lot like I couldn't believe the amount of people who reached out to me. So thank you guys for all the love. So let's get into it. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Some of the stuff is going to be kind of easy, as Jairzinho Rozenstruik landed as many punches as you did tonight, Ben, as he landed 0 strikes, was taken down by Jailton Almeida and submitted.
Okay. Can I throw something out before the fight even started? Like, I never thought I would say this about Dominick Cruz, but I need Dominick Cruz to follow me everywhere I go and tell everybody that me putting on 20 pounds of fat is a good thing. Like, everyone was talking about Rozenstruik like he's fucking 2014 Alistair Overeem. Like,
yeah.
Like, there was not quality weight he put on.
I want to go to my high school reunion. Have Dominick Cruz like, no, yeah, like, being that
he's gonna have a little more explosion. Like, the only way Jairzinho Rozenstruik got more explosive is if you plan to set him on fire.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, let's get into the actual thing. Ben, who's your favorite band of all time?
Probably The Clash.
The Clash, okay.
Yeah.
My favorite band is obviously the band that you play in, but my second favorite band is Guns N' Roses. That's my all-time favorite. I'm not saying they're the best. I'm not going to that with the Beatles and Rolling Stones and all that. But a lot of Led Zeppelin songs, you think of Stairway to Heaven, it's like a slow build up.
Sure.
I think of like November Rain with Guns N' Roses, a big long piano before. Sure. When you have a masterpiece, and obviously music a lot better than I do, even though I'm married to a music teacher, you don't have to rush it. And that's what Jailton Almeida does on the ground. He just takes it down. It's going to be classic. He slowly works him, stepping over the knee. The way he at one point he's trying to pass the guard, and he looked like he was going to go to his right to try to slide out. And the whole time he's baiting that way till he gets an open and he goes to the left side. It was absolutely brilliant. Where he went where the cage was. So you go, there's no way he's going to go that way. The cage is blocking him. And he goes that way. I mean, he is the Axl Rose of ground game, Jailton Almeida.
You don't know which way the hips are going. He's doing like the little Axl Rose dance.
I mean, I want to shout out to my buddy Zach Caden, who posted on Twitter. He called it surgical. I think that's a perfect. I messed up by Bass calling us old men, which is true, but calling it surgical, I think that's a perfect analogy. Like, he just, the way he works on the ground. I mean, and I know a lot of people are not going to give him credit, and a lot of guys in the chat and everybody else. it's heavyweight. They can't grapple at heavyweight, this and that. Yes, that is true. But he can grapple no matter what the weight class is. And yes, that's not a sideburn. That's bruising.
He obviously, this was a very favorable style matchup for him, but this is an unpredictable sport. To do what you're expected to do and not fuck it up and not slip on a banana peel and not give a 265-pound heavyweight the chance to land one silly jab and put your whole 13-fight win streak on roller skates, there's something to be said for that. This is an individual sport that, especially at the heavyweight level, is desperately unpredictable. Remember that the UFC heavyweight division has existed for 23 years now. Some of the greatest fighters in history have passed through it. Stipe Miocic was the first person to defend that title 3 times. Think of some of the fighters who failed to defend that title 3 times in a row, because it's not because they weren't the best guy in the cage. It's because this sport is so unpredictable. So yeah, even just to go out as a 5-1 favorite, and like you said, be deliberate. Once he got the takedown, he could have sent out for DoorDash and like gotten some food sent to him. He knew he had 4 minutes and 10 seconds to get his work done against a guy with maybe the worst ground game of any top 10 fighter in the UFC.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course he did what he was expected, but at heavyweight, that is something commendable in and of itself.
Yeah. When he got the takedown, we should have just hit the 5-minute timer right now for our show as soon as he got at the fight to the ground. Because I mean, it was an absolute wrap. It was an absolute wrap.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones when you're a striker and you're going against a grappler who, as soon as it takes you can't stop the takedown. As soon as he takes you down, it's over. I don't hate the Jorge Masvidal strategy. I remember I was coaching a kid in wrestling, and I think I've actually told the story, but it fits here. Where it's not going to work, but F it, why not try? I remember a kid was going against the number 1 guy in the state, and the kid I was coaching was solid, but he definitely was no match for this kid he was going to go against. He was in I'm not sure if it was a second round of the state. It was during a state tournament. It was not the opening round, but it was further in, maybe quarterfinals, something like that. And I said to the kid, hey, and he's, saying how good the guy is and what he wants to do. And I go, yeah, he's better than you. Like, we got that. Like, why not just go out there and throw a headlock? Like, go out there right away, throw a headlock.
Yeah.
And he goes, no. And I'm the one who always preaches, like, headlocks don't work. Like, it don't work against anybody good. But fuck it. Like, you need to pin this guy. Like, you need a Hail Mary. Just throw a headlock. He goes, no, I'm not going to do that. And then, and like, the match started like 10 seconds later. This story was longer than the match lasted. The kid got taken down, got pinned super quick. And he walked to the mat. And I'm like, well, yeah, that worked. That was great. Like your strategy was shake his hand, look at him, kind of like faint with him, and then just get taken down and pinned. I don't mind the Masvidal throw up the flying knee and maybe it lands.
I completely agree.
Yeah, especially for a guy he's going to duck down, going for the takedown.
Mm-hmm. And something that is, I think, worth picking at in this performance is both of Almeida's takedown attempts were ugly. The first one was from way too far out with no setup. And the second one was not much better. And he ended up on his knees, like just kind of wrapping. It was like a double low single. And he was just kneeling in front of him. Like you could practically see like the little snow speeders from Star Wars, like flying around the legs of like the Imperial Walker. And it just kind of goes down like that. It was like that. Like thank you. Like, I think it might have been West Coast made a comment.
Ben, hold on a second. I gotta edit the description real quick and just hashtag Star Wars to get our views up. Yeah. Anytime you get a little cheap thing, right? Okay, carry on. Sorry.
I think it was West Coast that commented up thread that like he would have finished Gane just as quickly. I'm not sure. I think he would have had to do better than that to get Ciryl Gane down. Like it was a couple of ugly takedown attempts. They worked because Rozenstruik's takedown defense is absolutely terrible. But yeah, I mean, that's worth picking at because once he was on top, I mean, we're going to talk about next steps for these guys, but there aren't many fighters in the division that I would give much of a chance once
No.
Almeida was on top in half guard. And I frankly, the ones that I think he's going to do this exact same thing to, I'd rather skip most of them and kind of get to the good stuff.
The one thing I'll say about it, when I was looking at the main event, and obviously you did the preview show, and you obviously did a spectacular job as always. It was one of the main events in recent history where it was the easiest fight to pick.
Yep.
Because when you think about the top guys in the division, and Rozenstruik is there, but based on their skill set versus the top guys in the division who he's going against, and it's like, is there a easier stylistic matchup for Rozenstruik? Like Parker Porter was a harder stylistic matchup.
Yeah.
Porter's
harder to take down. Yeah.
Yeah. He's bigger. He's hard to take down. He's naturally bigger. He's not tonight, but
he's naturally bigger. He has some rudiment. Like he knows how to take care of himself on the ground.
He'd win a jiu-jitsu match. He'd win a jiu-jitsu match against Rozenstruik for sure.
Well, he trains at a place that at least says jiu-jitsu over the door.
Yeah.
You know, it also says underdog, which was very appropriate for when he, fought. But
Rozenstruik has under their dog, it says hot dog.
Yeah. Whoever said in the chat that Chase Sherman would have lasted longer, I completely agree.
I agree. I totally agree too. I mean, he would have got submitted. He would have got submitted too, but yeah,
he would have got. Or honestly, Almeida would have had to actually strike with him a little longer, to either hurt him on the feet or set him up for a better takedown than that.
The run he is on, and I didn't fact check this, so I'm assuming this is true. So bear with me. But if not, the exact stats might not be true, but it's probably pretty close. I saw a guy on Twitter, Alex. I apologize if I'm saying his last name wrong. Behunin, Behun.
Alex Behunin.
Yeah, he's really good. I
follow him.
Yeah, he's really good. Almeida's now 4-0, and he tweeted out that if his calculation is correct, he's been hit 2 times significant strikes so far to his run in the UFC. That's insanity.
Well, he's 5-0 now in the UFC.
Oh, 5-0. Go with this. Oh no, is that counting the contender series or is that?
No, that's in the UFC.
In the UFC, 5-0.
Marquez, Porter, Turkali, Abdurakhimov, Rozenstruik.
Say that again.
Danilo Marquez, Parker Porter,
Marquez.
Anton Turkali, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Jairzinho, Rozenstruik. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so even better. So
I can believe that because Turkali didn't touch him, and I don't think Abdurakhimov he might have landed something glancing, but it's possible that official strike counts didn't give him anything. So I can believe that.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. How do you market this guy? I mean, you guys, he's 5-0 in the UFC. He's submitting everybody. Looks like the best grappler in the division. And again, you still have guys like Curtis Blades and Tom Aspinall and all that. But what he's doing seems the most impressive. I mean, you remember how long it took? Blades won by decision, right, against Rozenstruik, or did he get a late stoppage?
Blades, I think. Here, let me just check. Blades decision, yeah.
Yeah, he decision. Yeah, I thought so. So he's beating guys quicker, and I know that's not fair. Like, you know what I mean? The NFL team that wins 10-7 versus the team that won 28-7. It's that doesn't work that way. But how would you market this guy? Your Ben Duffy just gets hired by the UFC. You're the head of marketing now.
I think what the UFC is doing with them is right. Like it's not going to come instantly because there's not the personality factor. You need to sell him on dominance. So you can say he's won 13 fights in a row. He's finished all 5 of his UFC opponents, 4 of them in the first round. Like, who can stop this guy? That's how you have to throw it out there. Luckily, it's aside from Jones, it's not like there's really anyone in the division right now that's super marketable either.
Pavlovich might be. I mean, the walk-in Ivan Drago.
Pavlovich, but it's the same kind of struggle with him.
Sure.
Like a guy that's incredibly dominant. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't have much personality. So all you got to sell him on is nobody can stop this guy.
Yeah, he touches you, you go good night. I think you have to sell him. You sell him as the heavyweight Brazilian Khabib. Like, he takes you down, fights over.
Yeah.
While Khabib beats you up, he's going to submit you. I know he was kind of joking. At least I hope he's joking. Londo said John Jones is scared of Almeida.
Oh my goodness.
I know that he's saying that and he's trolling a little bit and everything, and that's fine because I like to do that myself.
Yeah.
But the next time he fights, you mentioned that that walkthrough moment. You say, you have one of them say, you got to remember, John Jones hasn't faced a grappler like Almeida. You just sprinkle that out there, just a little sprinkle out there, the idea. And then it just goes out. It's like what happens is when commentators say things, they put it out in the universe and it becomes a narrative. Do you remember when Cain Velasquez was the champion? And it was not that Cain Velasquez was the most dominant, but when he fights you, he ruins your career.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then like Junior Dos Santos was like successful for like another 5 years after that. Yeah. But that was like Joe Rogan said that, like, and it just became the narrative.
Yep. That's
so you get one of these guys, DC or Rogan or somebody say that.
And DC is already on the verge of it. Like he's already, because Cruz was trying to pay DC some compliments. Like Rozenstruik, Almeida is doing things from top position that we haven't seen in this division since Cormier. And Cormier is like, no, he's got stuff that I didn't have.
In a straight grappling match. Yeah, he's not the wrestler that DC is, but in a straight like jiu-jitsu skills. I mean, the guy's great. I mean, again, I want to put a little bit of pause on it because there is some truth to it that he faced the right guy, that makes him look great on the ground. But it's 5 guys in a row now. Like, eventually you just go, holy Christ, this guy's amazing on the ground. We don't have too much to talk about. I mean, when the fight goes as quick as it does, I want to do something, and I'm sure our buddy Jay Petrie would give me some shit, but fuck off. How about that? Tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Jailton Almeida's next fight, he gets booked. He obviously already fought. I'm going to go up to Sherdog rankings. You tell me who you would. And then this is not a prediction. We're not doing this tape study. That's just right now. This guy beats him. All right. We'll start from the very bottom. So, Linton Fisel's in Bellator. Philip DeFries not in the UFC.
But for what it's worth, I think Almeida would slaughter either of those guys.
Okay. All right. Rozenstruik is obviously he just fought. Derek Lewis.
Now I think he beat Lewis. 2 years ago, if you take the Derek Lewis of 2 years ago and put him here, Lewis finds a way to lamp Almeida.
Yeah.
He was too good at surviving on the ground. And but now after seeing Lewis get ragdolled by Sergey Spivak,
Yep. That's my exact thought. Like Sergey Spivak did that to him. Almeida should be able to do that to him. Obviously Ryan Bader's not in the UFC. Stylistically, this is a tough matchup, Sergey Spivak.
Well, if I get my way, we might find out.
Okay. So who are you picking, though?
Dude, I'd have to do some tape study on it because in the heat of the moment, I'm like, oh, Almeida. But, dude, Spivak has improved so much. Spivak has gotten so good.
I'm taking Almeida. I'm living in the moment. I'm living in the moment. I'm taking Almeida.
Sure.
All right. So you got to give me who you taking, just because we got to see how far you stop.
Well, it's going to be a stylistic matchup. So even if I say Spivak, I want you to keep going because there are people ranked above Spivak that I would favor Almeida over. So
you take Spivak.
I think I would take Spivak.
All right, so you're done. Even though I know because of course I agree with you. There's people.
Yeah.
Marcin Tybura, I'm taking Almeida. Tai Tuivasa, I'm definitely taking Almeida.
Yeah.
Like Alexander Volkov. This is where it gets interesting to me.
Volkov's a hard guy to take down.
He's so big. That's where I'm stopping right now. That's where I'm stopping Volkov.
Yeah.
But again, I agree this guy's above there that he might be able to beat and whatnot. So anyways, I just want to have a little fun with that. So you kind of just hinted at it, and we'll throw this out to the chat to everybody, and I'll try to put out as many matchups as possible. Your UFC matchmaker, nobody can say no. Everyone has to sign the contract. You're doing Sergey Spivak.
Either that or maybe the Aspinall Tybura winner.
Would you say
The winner of Aspinall and
Aspinall
Tybura?
Tybura?
Yeah.
Oof.
Like they're locked in for July in London.
But you almost want to, like, being that Almeida had no damage, just pull Tybura out of there, just put Almeida
and
instead.
Aspinall.
Like how big Aspinall in London, or is it? Yeah, it's London, right? He's in London. It is home, in his third world country, trying to defend it against Almeida coming in. I'm going even higher. I'm going way higher. I'm giving a matchup that it's a huge name, but it's a favorable matchup. I'm giving him Ciryl Gane.
Gane was like the other name I had after the Aspinall Tybura winner. See, the problem is it can't. Well, I mean, it could help Gane if he won, but if Almeida wins, he's winning against a guy that has shown in back-to-back fights that wrestling is his problem. So there would be a tendency to dismiss and go, well, sure, Almeida grounded him and beat him up. Look at what everyone else did.
Yeah. No, I know. It definitely would be favorable. But, obviously John Jones did it to him. I mean, he lost to Francis Ngannou because of his grappling. Yeah. So, I'm doing that. Rozenstruik, at this point, I mean, it is what it is. Like, what are we doing, Rozenstruik?
Tuivasa. Just give him a fight that someone's going to slug it. Because the thing is, they're both in the same position. Because heavyweight sucks, and because they both hit so hard, they swung their way into like the top 5 and into the title picture. I mean, both these guys were within a fight of fighting for a title, but we've seen the cap on them both. Why use them as tackling dummies for wrestlers? Just let them fight it out with each other.
Yeah.
Like that's a kind of fight night main event that has not much divisional relevance, but people would still buy.
Yeah. Or like, I could even see it as like a pay-per-view opener, like a really stacked pay-per-view opener.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Like the other guy I was thinking of was Derek Lewis. So kind of like one of those three, just put two of those guys against each other. Lewis and Tuivasa already face each other, but yeah, Rozenstruik versus Lewis, Rozenstruik versus Tuivasa, kind of same thing. Let him swing it out. You almost guaranteed a knockout.
Yeah, and if Rozenstruik shaves, he and Lewis almost look the same. Like it,
okay.
Dude. When he was walking into the arena with his sunglasses on, he looked like Rick Ross did, like like P90X, and like got in a little bit better shape. It was pretty funny. Anyway,
the P90X. There you go. He got himself a Peloton.
Yeah, he got himself a Peloton. Picture Rick Ross riding the Peloton bike with his sunglasses on.
I don't have Peloton. Those bikes are way too expensive for me. They're like $2,000 or something.
Yeah, well, dude, it's like I can't tell whether Peloton is a weird cult that comes with a bike or a bike that comes with a weird cult, but I want nothing to do with it. Like,
I listen, I'm not trying to, but I see this. I see people like, I just bought my $2,000 bike, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you can go to a yard sale. They're like pretty much giving them for free. But I don't know. Maybe you need the cult yelling at you. Before that, Anthony Smith took on Johnny Walker, with Johnny Walker winning a unanimous decision. Like, well, look at that. Right when we were like doing the obituary for Johnny Walker not that long ago, the dude's on a 3-fight winning streak.
He sure is.
And he's looking good. I mean, he's a controlled, calculated, he found the balance because he's had fights where he's a wild madman and he loses. Then he has the fights where he's so trigger shy, he loses. He kind of starting to find the output and the balance he needs. And I'm still not sold on his ground game. That's still, I'm still very worried about that. But the guy that showed up tonight with that power and that, I like that he was obviously, you can see him thinking, going with the calf kicks and everything. He looked good.
He looked good. There are things that are genuinely admirable about him. Like, we still never seen the guy really gassed out. And we know now that it's somebody who starts his cut from like 240 pounds. Like he said how much he weighs before he starts his cut.
And I know he's being very successful at 205, but I can't.
He literally outweighed Jailton Almeida tonight. Almeida weighed 231 pounds, and Johnny Walker was probably 10 pounds heavier than that.
But like, based on his style and his game, And again, like I said, I'm not sold on his grappling yet.
Yeah.
I just feel like he should fight at heavyweight. I feel like he'd be very successful at heavyweight.
I agree. Like, I think he'd do incredibly well at heavyweight, and the wait and see would be until he runs into the good wrestlers there, and they're just as rare at heavyweight as they are light heavyweight. But I don't want to take away from Hill's win.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, from Walker's win, because I never thought he'd string together 3 wins in a row over solid fighters. I just figured he was. I mean, I picked Smith. I picked Smith in this fight, and I picked it with a certain amount of confidence. And part of that is due to me turning out to be wrong about Smith's mental state. But part of it is just it's taken me a while to come around to the idea of Johnny Walker fighting a full fight without making any major mistakes.
And tonight he didn't. And I thought, and again, I don't want to take away too much from Johnny Walker. I thought Anthony Smith looked terrible tonight.
Absolutely terrible. That's what I'm saying.
And I mean, he showed no urgency to get the fight to the ground, which I thought was an easy path to victory. Because we've seen, say what you want about Anthony Smith can grapple. Doesn't show any urgency to get the fight to the ground. The one time he gets the fight to the ground, there's about, I don't know, a minute and a half left in the round, and he does nothing. He keeps looking at his corner and not doing anything. And I remember the commentating talking about I don't know if he had like a head and arm triangle, like the beginning of a head and arm triangle, or something. They were like talking it up, and I'm like, yeah, he's letting the clock run down. He's not doing anything, and he keeps looking at his corner. And then finally, with like 10 seconds left, he throws like one elbow, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
He got. I think he got hurt real bad, and he went for the desperation takedown. Finally got it. I think he seriously just rode out the round.
I think he quit, and I hate to say that. He looked to me like a fighter who quit. Mentally, he was broken, and sure, some of it might be physical. I mean, we hear about all the injuries he's been going through. He's got 9 million fights on his record, even though he's not as old as I think he is. I remember you said it on because I listened to the recap this week, and because I have such an ego, I just want to see what you can say about me. But I couldn't. How old is he? Because you said something I couldn't believe.
He's 33 or 34.
Yeah, he seems like he should be in his like early 40s or even late 30s. I couldn't believe how young he was, but his body's not. Like, I wonder how much of it is besides injuries, just the wear and tear and the beatings he took. I mean, someone mentioned the Glover Teixeira beating he took, and some other ones that he's taken. I tweeted to Craig Allen because he was talking about the fight, and he said, is Anthony Smith get retired? I'm like, I think he retired with 1 minute left in the first round.
No, I'm completely on board. I'm with you in that I don't use the words scared or broken very easily at all. Just, like, I don't profess to be an expert at what's going on inside fighters' heads. But
these guys, sorry to interrupt you. These guys are the baddest dudes on the planet. So when we say like the guy quit, he's still tougher than 99.9% of people walking the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But carry on. Sorry.
No.
Tiffany's going to kill me. I'm always interrupting you.
But
shout out to my girl Tiffany.
But he has a look that I've seen in other fighters when their body starts to betray them. Like, it's not even quitting. Like, he almost looked just frustrated at himself. Like, I used to be able to fight through this and beat a guy like this, and I can't anymore. And you can think of other people in history that you could kind of see that towards the end. Like, Ian McCall is a huge one for me, where he had a ton of injuries. Like, he got jobbed on like the night that should have been the biggest night of his career, the night he should have beaten Demetrius Johnson.
It wasn't that bad. But carry on.
But
it was a close fight. Okay.
It was a close fight, but it was literally a math error. Yeah.
He could have won the title and beat Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, he would have had to win another one, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's the whole point. Johnson was the better fighter. That's why it's so tragic, because that should have been the greatest night of his life. And instead it was just, stupidity. Anyway, like, Smith looked to me like a guy who's done, as people have said, Jeff Berruman, Derek Lewis, exactly the same. where
Yeah.
Lewis, like, he just looked like he didn't want to be there against Spivak, like just getting thrown around, and he just like literally shaking his head, and you could just tell here's a guy thinking this is exactly the kind of guy that I would have just stood back up and punched his lights out 3 years ago. I can't do it anymore. This isn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think the word you used, frustrated. Yeah, I could see it. I think that might be a little bit. Not that he quit, but I think he really he played it safe the rest of the way, and he gave Walker the exact fight that he wanted. He get that like mid range, and he was just looking for loading up, looking for Hail Mary punches. And he went the entire second round without even looking for a takedown once.
Yep.
I mean, he looked, and then when he would look for a takedown in the third, Walker turned up the pressure a little bit. He curled up, and and like he was like bracing himself to get punched instead of fighting.
Yeah.
He needs to have a come to Jesus, talk to his family, intervention type thing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the next time, or I shouldn't say the next time, but we only see Anthony Smith commentating and working the broadcast table and analysis, because
he's good at it. But it's a couple of fights now, like dating all the way back to the Jones fight and obviously the Teixeira fight, but where you've seen that he's wincing in pain.
Yeah.
That, I mean, plenty of fighters get kind of knocked silly and they're dizzy, or they just get knocked completely unconscious. But he, in probably like 3 of his last 4 or 5 fights, you've seen that he's like in pain from the blows and like almost flinching from them. That's not a good place to be for a guy that's been getting punched professionally for over half or almost half his life.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good point. And I really feel that if Walker turned up, especially very late, I mean, even Cruz and DC was saying it, like Smith wanted out. Like if he turned it up at all, even the last like 10 seconds, Smith was like turning, it was over. Mm-hmm. And Walker just didn't go in for the kill. If he went in for the kill, he was getting a stoppage there.
Agreed. But you know what? After his run in the UFC so far, if Walker let that go just out of an abundance of caution, he's one guy that can use a little more caution. He took he cruised to an easy win over a dangerous guy. Like, if you're Walker, I'm not too mad about it. Like, just, I guess take your win.
Yeah. What do we, so let's match make Smith anyways, just because, say he hangs on, he's still a name there. He's been in main events. He's fought for the title. What are you doing with him?
Well, the other problem is that he has fought so many people in that division, but I'm going to put him against an unranked guy who's either coming off a loss or at least is only coming off 1 win. I'm throwing him all the way down to someone like Alonzo Menafield.
Okay. I'm going the opposite route. I'm going with the guy rising up the rankings, and I'm, me, man. I don't have the mercy. Ooh. I'm not. Some guys are sentimental. I'm not sentimental. You know me, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm always use them before you lose them. Like, that very boxing thing where you get over the next guy. I'm going to put it against Asamat Murzakanov.
Oh,
get him in like a co-main event against Murzakanov. Use
his
name to get over the next guy.
Either. I mean, if you're going to be merciless, do that, or let like someone like Dustin Jacoby use him to bounce back. Khalil Roundtree, I believe, is going to welcome Chris Daukaus to light heavyweight.
Yeah, Chris Daukaus.
In like the greatest contrast of body types in a non-heavyweight fight in like UFC history.
I know. Johnny Walker. He obviously he's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's moving up the rankings. I mean, the running out of the cage because you beat Anthony Smith by decision, and he like run up to the champion saying, "I'm coming for you." Like, that's pretty bad, dude. Like, the phone, like, how many phone calls get called before you call Johnny Walker? To me, it's like, obviously Prohaska, if he's healthy, which I know that's a huge, who knows.
But go ahead.
Good, Ankalaev.
Yep. Well, assuming Ankalaev isn't still throwing a tantrum, yeah.
Okay, he might be rightfully so. But who else? I mean, I guess you can make Blachowicz.
Dude, Nikita Krylov is also on a 3-fight win streak and has a head-to-head win over Walker.
Yep.
So weird as it sounds to say, Nikita Krylov is getting the call before Walker is.
I might call John Jones. Like, hey, you want the light heavyweight title too? Like, you want to do both the same time? Like, that's my point. Like, saying I'm coming for you, it's like, oh, okay, dude.
Yeah.
So what realistically would you do with Johnny Walker? Because he's fought a lot of guys in the division too.
That's the thing I'm saying. It's almost the perfect time to fast track him. If you think you should strike while the iron is hot, because he's got 3 wins in a row, he may never get 3 wins in a row again. Like, if you just throw him in a holding pattern fight against someone, like, say you do a Kudalaba rematch, or you throw him in, against like even like Rockets or somebody, like, there's no guarantee he wins. You strike now while the iron is hot, because the fact is that everyone right now is just sort of taking up space until Prochazka comes back.
Yeah, I agree. I was going with Blachowicz being like, again, like kind of the same thing, like fight night, main event, winner kind of slides himself, pretty close to a title shot. But Bass threw a name out. He wasn't throwing it out for Johnny Walker, but I wasn't thinking about this one. It makes a lot of sense. What if Johnny Walker is the first one to welcome Alex Bahia to the division? 2 big Brazilians, huge guys.
I mean, I like it as a fight. I mean, I favor Pereira in that, but it's interesting. You finally found somebody that is bigger than him.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I wasn't thinking of that name, so I'm gonna shout out to my boy Bass for that name. That works for me. I don't know. I don't know if Pereira would want that. I could see the UFC giving Pereira an even higher matchup. Like, I could see his first fight being like Ankalaev or Blachowicz, or like, honestly, being that there isn't a guy that's like dead, this is the champion. Like next up for the champion. Like, it would not shock. I'm not saying the UFC should do this. So please listen. I'm not saying they should do this, but it wouldn't shock me if Pereira fights for the title like right away.
No, me either. Like I say, Prochazka being out, but knowing that he's probably coming back in the last 4 months of this year makes it feel like everyone else is kind of playing with play money, like everyone's playing with Monopoly money, and it's just sort of a placeholder until the real champ comes back.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to the third fight from the top. Well, I think Jailton Almeida is going to get a lot of buzz after this win. I really believe the guy that's going to get the most buzz from this card, the people that people will be talking about most, I think it's Ian Machado Garry, as he put on this is his coming out party. I mean, he put a beating on Daniel Rodriguez, knocking him out in the very first round. Did you see that he predicted it exactly this way? Did you see that?
Yep. And that makes me think of Conor McGregor.
Really? An Irish guy who's knocking people out makes you think of Conor McGregor.
And predicting it.
That's why,
like, calling his own shot. Yeah.
That's why you are the new head of promotion for the UFC. That's why I gave you that title earlier today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
When Ian Garry came into the UFC, I wasn't sold. No, I mean, a couple of years ago, he's probably about 22. I saw some things, a little sloppy grappling, some things I didn't like about him. I've done a complete 180 before this matchup. A couple of matches ago, I've done a complete 180. The things he's doing on his feet, to me, he looks better and better. As the challenge has gotten harder, he's gotten better. He looks like a guy who's coming into I'm around girls softball a lot. I'm not making this a girls softball type, but my oldest daughter is a very competitive girls softball. She plays on 3 different teams. You'll see girls who just suddenly they get it. Like, if it's a pitcher, if it's a hitter, they're like right there, they're struggling. And I'm just like, hey, it's got to come along. And then all of a sudden they get it and the confidence gets bigger. And then I've always been one of these guys. I always preach, once your confidence get better, you just play better. And that's how I feel like Ian Garry. Like, suddenly he roped one deep to left field, and now he knows he has it. He can always do it, and he's just looking better and better and better and better. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's a champion at, 170, because we know, that's like trying to say you're gonna win the lottery, but the potential is there. The potential is there for him.
Mm-hmm. Completely agreed. He has title contender potential and upside, and I wasn't sure about that when he got to the UFC. But no, you mentioned it's a confidence thing. Clearly, there was a little bit of a learning curve once he moved from Cage Warriors to the UFC, even though he never lost. I said this on the preview. In each of his fights, he's made a couple of mistakes, and they're mistakes that a few of his opponents have taken advantage of to some point, but you could picture top 10, definitely top 5 welterweights really making him pay for those mistakes. But he's gotten a chance to come along in a very reasonable fashion, the way the UFC has matched him. But he's starting to get past those, and he's a lot more calm.
Oh, he's
Rodriguez is a high pressure fighter. He makes things uncomfortable for his opponents, and Garry just didn't let it get to him.
No,
I think Daniel Rodriguez, if he were Ian Garry's first or second opponent in the UFC, probably would have beat him.
I agree. I totally agree. And he picked up. Well, first of all, shout out to Garry for calling out Danny Rodriguez, because not many people are calling for a fight with Danny Rodriguez. First of all, he picked up his timing about 30 seconds in. He was kind of feeling him out. He found his range. He found his timing, and the length and the accuracy was incredible. The way he was just easily, every time Rodriguez came forward, he was easily using his footwork out. I love they talked about if you get too close to him, he'll initiate the clinch, which I've talked about that many times. I like the guys who initiate the clinch themselves, put them on the offense, and he's so intelligent. I mean, to predict based on the style, your stance is that I'm going to high kick this guy in the head and then land it. And, it wasn't exactly when he wanted to go out cold with the high kick, but to drop Danny Rodriguez, have him like in the fetal position and finishing him off, it's incredible. And the scary thing about him, like we talk about the holes that are there. Every fight that goes on for the next 5 to 6 years, those holes are going away. Like, get him now. Like, fight him now, because 3 years from now, that thing you see that you could beat him at ain't going to be there.
Oh, completely agreed. Because most of his problems, and again, we're speaking about an undefeated fighter, so I'm speaking in very relative terms when I say problems, but most of his problems in his UFC run so far have been due to just being overeager, like overextending on the feet, being overeager on the ground, being impatient. If I could draw any tiny criticism about tonight's performance, it's that after dropping Rodriguez, he kind of swarmed and flailed. Again, he finished the fight. He's fine. He's still undefeated, but he hit him in the back of the head once or twice. A lot of it was just kind of clattering off of the guard of a guy who'd already gone fetal. Like, a little more composure there, and he could have put it away with like 3 surgical punches. But you know what? A year from now, he will finish that fight with 3 surgical punches, and that hole is closed.
Yeah, I'll say one thing I'll disagree on. I agree, you got to control yourself. But if you have any chance to punch a guy in the back of the head, always take it, because 99% of the time they'll never call it against you.
Hey, Johnny Walker just won the night.
Yeah, I mean, punching a guy in the back of the head, like, people don't realize how there's a reason why it's illegal. I'm not a scientist or anything. There's an equal living thing back there, and it sucks to get punched in the back of the head. The scary thing about Ian Garry is he's only 25 years old. Like,
he's only 25 years old. He is not even at his peak of physical power yet.
How old was Conor when he came in the UFC?
He was older than that. He was,
I
think he was like 24, 25 already
when he came in, like his UFC debut. Let's see. I'm looking up right now. Conor's 34. It's so funny. Like, I think Conor and Anthony Smith are the same age to me.
That means he was like 24 when he got to the UFC, because it was like 2013.
Yeah. This kid looks good. I like the way he markets himself. He has a Conor feel to him, but a different personality, and I think that's a good thing. It's not It's not a James Gallagher where you're trying to be just like Conor the way you're talking. It's brash, but it's different. I'm sold. I love this kid.
Yeah. I mean, Skynet says Gary's not the draw UFC thinks. You know what? If the UFC thinks he's a draw, they'll make him a draw.
Yeah, and I heard people say, "Well, he's not Conor McGregor." Nobody is.
Nobody is.
It's not fair. It's like when any time comes, like in anything, like, the next great quarterback is not going to be Tom Brady. The next great basketball player is not going to be LeBron James. Like, it's not going to happen. But if you're Kevin Durant, that's pretty freaking good, or if you're Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whatever, like if they don't have the all-time great, but they have, a couple steps down, that still works.
Shout out to Boss for naming Cathal Pendred Ireland's most boring fighter.
Ashley Daly is up there too, though.
Ashlyn Daly.
Well, you know what? She's not boring. She's just not talented, I should say. Garry called for a fight with Neil Magny. Neil Magny's actually booked against Philip Rowe.
But he's booked against Philip Rowe in like 6 weeks, so it can still work.
Yeah, it can still work. What I want to give credit to him for is a couple things. The one thing that stands out about Garry is how long and length he is, how tall he is. Then he calls out like another guy that length isn't going to work against. You got to call it the guy that, he's the top 15 guy, and if you beat him, you're super, you're a stud. And only studs beat Neil Magny. We've established that a long time. But when you fight Neil Magny, it's going to be tough. He's going to be on the gas pedal. He's going to be in your face. I like the call out because it was one of those where everything was going good, and he said Neil Magny, and I went like, oh fuck, dude. Like Neil Magny is all risk and like not that much reward, but like so much risk.
Yeah,
but because of that, I like it. Because you beat Neil Magny, forget it, dude.
Yeah, I liked it as a realistic call out.
Yeah, me too. So I'm going to do the winner. If Phil Rowe, which is a very possible if he beats Neil Magny, I'm doing the winner. Magny Rowe winner.
Works for me.
If Magny wins, I'm doing a fight night main event.
Sure. Some of the fight night main events we have coming up.
It's funny because I know because of the live audience and everything, but part of me said when they booked the Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill one, I said, why not just push this one? Why not push this fight, Garry and Rodriguez? Being that you can build Garry the main event and all that, but I know there's a lot of logistical reasons to it, and maybe people coming from Ireland and North Carolina, who knows?
Dude, I don't mean to be mean, but the July fight night card that's headlined by Holly Holm and Mayra Bueno Silva, I'm considering taking vacation that week and burning a week of vacation just not to have to cover the card. I'm not even going anywhere.
just because. Yeah. Just because like a couple of drinks by the barbecue is a lot better than watching Holly Holm and
for guaranteed 5 rounds.
Oh God. Yeah. And I love Holly Holm. Just like I love her as a person, but you know what else? I wouldn't mind Garry in if you have a weaker pay-per-view, you have the Julian, obviously it's not going to happen, but the Julian Pena one, which is sometimes that happens. Like, champions are hurt and this and that. You can't stack up. Like, get Garry in a co-main event. Like, let him be because we had that with Conor. We had moments where, Conor and Poirier was a co-main event to was it Cejudo? No, it wasn't Cejudo. Was it DJ and Bagatinov or something? It was like a really weak main event, or I feel like McGregor versus Poirier the first time was a co-main event for like a Demetrius Johnson fight card or something like that. I could be wrong, but Rodriguez is still fun. What do you want to do with him?
Maybe either the winner or the loser of Randy Brown and Wellington Turman in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Like Turman's moving down to 170. Randy Brown is a welterweight that kind of crested into the bottom of the top 15 and then lost. Get him against one of those guys, winner, loser, whichever one comes out healthy without a medical suspension.
Yeah. I was thinking like Rodriguez building, using his name. Jeremiah Wells has 6 wins in a row. I mean, 6-0 in the UFC.
You're gonna
6 in a row.
Throw Rodriguez and get another guy that's like on a huge win streak in the UFC.
The thing is, Jeremiah Wells is older though. He's not some young guy. He's up there. Yeah. I'm sorry, Rodriguez. Just to me, him and Wells throwing bombs at each other just seems like so much fun.
Yeah, I mean that'd be a blast.
All right, guys, we covered the top 3 fights. The other fights we could go a little quicker. Some because there's not much to talk about, and some just to save time, as we're already almost an hour deep. Carlos Ulberg took on I must butcher this guy's name, Ihor Peteria.
Perfect.
Ulberg won by first round TKO. This was a mismatch. Is there anything else to say? This is a mismatch.
No, I mean, this was the easiest call on the card. Only thing to say is kind of like a couple other people we've talked about on this card, like Johnny Walker and Ian Garry both. Ulberg, as he's kind of taken a deep breath and gotten more confident, doesn't have anything to prove, knows the knockout's going to come. The kind of mistake he made against Kennedy Zechikwu, nobody else is going to find that hole, man.
No, he's one that loss hasn't like aged bad. Like no. Anything, it's gotten better since then. That time as Kenny Njoku has made a name for himself in the division.
Yeah,
and I think Ulberg's making a name for himself. He is a sniper, and if Ulberg was in the same situation that Johnny Walker was in against Sam Smith, Ulberg would have put him out. Yes. Ulberg would have high kicked him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying Ulberg would have beat Walker. I'm just saying in that position he would have. And I'm not saying he would beat Anthony Smith. But to me, it's time for a big step up. Like he's too good for these guys. It's time for him to face. It doesn't have to be a top 15 guy, but to me, a win that matters a lot more. Agree or disagree? And then tell me who.
All right, no, hit me again.
I just think he needs a much bigger step up. Like it doesn't have to be a top 15 guy, but it's got to be something that the win matters. The win, the name, something.
I agree.
Without he needs to be tested more.
He needs to be tested, and it might be worth testing him against somebody who might test him on the ground, because at this point,
I get it.
He's already lost in the UFC, so you're not trying to keep a perfect octagon record going or anything. Yeah, like it's worth like hell. Let him fight Anthony Smith next.
You'd go that. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I really don't. Especially if you could do it in New Zealand, an Izzy card or something like that, or a Volkanovski card. I know Volkanovski's fight. I think they're fighting in Vegas. I think, but but you could do something like that where it makes sense. As a showcase face. The fight I came up with, not as high as my name, but I was thinking the Dawkins Cleo Roundtree winner.
Sure,
now, that's much different, especially if Roundtree wins. Like that's going to be a fun, kickboxing match.
I mean, like lurking in the back somewhere here is like if they can make their way to a Pereira versus Ulberg fight at light heavyweight with like Izzy in Ulberg's corner, like
absolutely, dude,
they should make that happen.
Dude, let's do it next. Fuck it. You're absolutely right. Dude, honestly, you're absolutely right. The problem is I don't think Ulberg would. Yeah, dude, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. That's fantastic. Nice job. That's why you're the head of promotion. You are on fire tonight, man. Nice job. Nice job.
Meanwhile, the chat is paying us no mind. They're arguing over whether Carlos Ulberg or Alan Jouban has like slayed more P. And I mean, Jouban's probably got like a 5 or 6 year head start on him, unless Ulberg started scoring when he was 11, which I wouldn't put it past him. I'm sure he was a devilishly handsome 6th grader, but
I know there's a rumor for Jouban that he slayed a big one. But I'm gonna go. I'm going.
Hopefully it's not Gina Mazzani because he would have had to take a number.
I'm not going. I'm not touching that one, dude. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm trying to be professional. I will say this: Alan Jouban's the man. But when you're Allberg and you've turned down The Bachelor multiple times, where they're trying to throw, I don't know how The Bachelor works. It's like what 2015, I don't know, 15 or 20 like absolute beautiful like 10s at you to fight for you. I'm a married man and I would have turned that shit down right now. just joking. Before that, Houston's own Alex Moreno took on Tim Means, your boy, your best friend. What are you doing to celebrate? So Ben, let me ask you this question because listen, it's all right. Like whatever. Like you're very honest about Alex Moreno being your friend. You've hung out. You've been to his house.
Yeah.
You know, you've know his children. I don't know. Are you like fanboying out when he's fighting? Like you're like super cheering him, or you just?
I try to. I mean, I even said on the preview, I can't. It's hard for me to talk about him objectively. You know, he's an actual friend, but yeah, I would try to be realistic about it. But on fight night and afterward, like I just usually kick him a text before and after saying, hey, you know, go get him. Good job. Sorry, rough night at the office, whatever it was. But yeah. Dude, I've been open with him about like, dude, I'm so glad that you have stopped pretending the floor is lava because, you know, he used to have the most underused BJJ black belt in the division. And now he's out wrestling Matt Semmelsberger. He is taken the nasty guillotine on Tim Means.
Yeah. That's a good submission. Like Tim Means, say what you want. Tim Means is a tough out.
He's a tough out, and just the actual technical stuff of it. Like when he pulled guard, trapped that one arm with his leg, you know, and so like he's working on like securing his guard and like cinching up the grip before he lets that arm go. And by the time his right arm's free, his left arm's ready to tap. It was a nasty guillotine. Like it's what it looks like when a black belt does a guillotine versus just I ended up with a front headlock because somebody shot a takedown on me and, you know, it felt natural to grab his head.
When I look at Alex Moreno, he's the guy that if you didn't know anything, like I couldn't imagine being that tough guy in Houston hanging out at a bar and you like see Alex Moreno with like balding and like.
If you don't know what the cauliflower ear means, you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah. You just see this guy. No. And someone says, dude, you know, the guy fights in the UFC and you're like, that guy, I'd fuck him up. You know, and next minute he's spitting back fisting you in the face.
Yeah. No, and
I'd love to see it.
It's 15 years later and 2 weight classes lighter, Jeremy Horn.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. It's funny because the way the fight was going, he was struggling at first. He was struggling with the range and the timing.
Oh yeah.
But then he made a little adjustment, and it was the adjustment was go away from Means' power, like attack and circle against Wynn's power, and some of it was, and I don't mean this as an insult, but some of it was pure luck. You hit a spinning, you go for a spinning back fist, and you like as the guy ducks down, you land with your hit arm perfectly in position to sync up a guillotine as he goes for a takedown. But one thing I will say, and I know you're in agreement with this, he needs to grapple even more. Because I forgot who tweeted this out, but they said if he's that dangerous in the ground, that if he can finish a guy like Tim Means that quickly, he needs to like striking needs to be secondary.
Yep, I completely agree. Like he is a very, very good grappler, and just
he's on a nice little streak. He's on a nice little streak,
dude. Yeah. He's won, I think 4 of 5 or 5 of 6, and the only one he lost is that one against Ponzinibbio, where he was winning the fight. He got clocked, and specifically got clocked in a way that made him look like he'd been like shot or hit by lightning or something. That like weird like dead face thing. Yeah.
Imagine the matchup he would be in right now if he won that fight. He got a win over Ponzinibbio, and he was on, you know, that long of a streak. Yeah, he'd probably be facing Michelle Pahea,
Yeah. Hell, he might have been the guy fighting Ian Garry tonight.
He might have been. That's good.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And speaking of welterweights, and I don't know where else to transition this. Matt Brown just absolute starts Court McGee to have the most knockouts in UFC history. To me, this was a classic Court McGee fight until it became a classic Matt Brown fight. Court McGee was doing everything he wanted to do. Close the use pressure, close the distance, grind on him, do what Court McGee does.
Yep.
And Matt Brown showed that he can still do what Matt Brown does. And just short, hard, blasted him. And the way Matt Brown reacted, that's a guy who just knows when he knocks dudes out. He knows the feeling. He knows that feeling. It's that baseball player who hits that home run, and as soon as it hits the bat, he flips it up in the air. He knows.
Yep. It's Larry Bird shooting the three from the corner and doesn't even look, just turns and starts running back up the court.
And
everyone on the other team's like, shit.
I like that, Larry Bird.
And I completely agree. And Matt Brown, like he called himself a technical brawler, and it makes so much sense with him because there's so much smartness to it. Like where he sets up the finish by he gives McGee a little push kick. He knows that what McGee's going to do in reaction is charge back in double hard because McGee was trying to close the distance to punch his way into the clinch. So he's like, I'm going to push him back with my foot. He's going to run in double hard. He's going to run right into my fucking hand. Like
it was fantastic.
It was a brilliant setup, and McGee's chin can't take it anymore.
Yeah, it was an absolute great knockout. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, that's back-to-back knockout losses for Court McGee. You have to ask yourself, how much of the knockout was McGee. Maybe he's faded. He's been, obviously he's been in the game for a long time. He's done, he's been in some wars and been in UFC, so he's taken some damage. Plus, I hate saying this, but I always have to just obviously common sense. He's beat up his body in other ways. That he's very open about. Both these guys. That was a thing.
Oh yeah, I mean he's got the heroin belt now. Like,
oh. Well, I did call Jailton Almeida the Axl Rose of MMA. So maybe not. Matt Brown's 42 years old. He's got I know what I'm going to say. People are going to hate this, but people are saying, he's got to go for the title. Not the title, the title of most knockouts. That's what I meant to say. The title of most knockouts. To me, and yeah, I guess you could set him up to find the right guy that he can starch and get that. But you know what's going to happen? Someone else is going to break the record after him.
Yeah, of course.
That's what happens. Why not retire? Why not stay in? Arena, you got this huge knockout. Why not go out right then? Why not make your announcement? The place give you a standing ovation. Like, I know it's easy for me to say turn on the money, but
sure,
it's not going to age well. It's going to be a Shogun thing. It's going to be a Frankie Edgar thing. It's going to be something where he gets hurt bad. Like, you're not going to have a better moment than this.
I completely agree. Hell, if you're the UFC, you do an Ohio card. Like, you don't say it's for him, but it's for him.
But you get him. Who do you put him against?
I don't even, because here's the funny thing. I was going to say Brian Barberena, but then I remember he already fought him and lost.
No, I mean, who's the Chase Hooper of welterweight? Who can Matt Brown be off on?
Here, just to show that I don't give entirely preferential treatment to my friends, you bring back Mike Jackson for one more.
You bring back Mike Jackson for good. Yes, you bring back. Yeah, but you know how looking at his record, somehow Mike Jackson will win. Like Matt Brown will headbutt him by accident or something.
We get some no contest, and like Brown's like, well, shit, no, I got to fight one more. Yeah.
Oh, Bass actually just said the perfect Bass. I hit the wrong one. Bass actually gave the right name. It's not happening because he's already booked. But Robbie Lawler would have been the good one. I don't know I don't know who wins that one. I really don't. but and I know they fought years ago
Yeah.
when Robbie Lawler was
He fought for the title in his next fight. It was a
yeah,
title
it was
eliminator.
like it was the number one contender match. Yeah, you mentioned that on the preview show. I like the Meg. I really do. I like the Meg Jackson. I'm sorry, dude, but Mike,
No,
you got
it worked, dude.
get yourself
Again,
a Jack.
Mike's a friend, and I would suggest. In fact, I'll probably text him and be like, dude, check out my recap. I suggested like the UFC give you another fight. Here, considering that Pete Rodriguez is now 0 for 2 on trying to make 155 pounds, to Pete Rodriguez versus Matt Brown. Michael Crivanis, they tried to do this for him, and he ended up like losing a crummy fight to Barberena.
But why don't we just have him fight? I mean, Mark Coleman's in this. Have him fight Mark Coleman, like at heavyweight. Mark Coleman can barely walk. Just
yeah.
Anyways, I mean, I would like them to retire, but yeah, if you want to try to get him that record, do it in Ohio. I'm sorry, but this is what happens when it's a card where it's almost it's only 7 p.m. in the East Coast. My kids let the dog upstairs, and I'm calling for them. They all went outside, and the dog is like hitting me and knowing like, oh, let me bother you. So that's why I'm getting knocked around right now and stuff. So I apologize. Let's move on. I'm gonna have to do something with the dog. She's driving me crazy.
All right.
The next fight is Chase Sherman versus Carl Williams. I'm going to say this. Go ahead. Just talk about Chase Sherman and Carl Williams.
Yeah, okay. Well, hey, I mean, normally I picked Williams to win this. Williams won. You'd think I'd be happy about it, but 2 30-27 scorecards for him in this fight are inexcusable. I called them, maybe, are these the worst UFC scorecards of the year? Jed Meshew from MMA Fighting came out and pointed out that somebody gave Marlon Vera the fight over Corey Sandhagen. That's terrible, but 2 people thinking Williams won all 3 rounds against Sherman was kind of ridiculous to me. Williams pretty clearly won the first round, and then he gassed out pretty badly, and I thought he lost the second and third. He definitely lost the third. I mean, like, he did nothing. He was exhausted.
Ready?
Yeah.
I don't think they were bad scorecard at all. I thought the second and third round were both close.
Wow.
I scored at 29-28 for Williams. I did give him I don't know. Now I'm trying to remember. Obviously I gave him the first round. I don't remember if I gave him the second round or if it was the third round, but I think it was the second round I gave him.
Well, so, it was kind of a logical progression. Like,
no, I did. I had him up 2 rounds to 1, 2 rounds nothing. And yes, because Chase Sherman, I was saying like he didn't show any like. One of the reasons why he lost, in my opinion, was like there was no urgency on his side. You had a guy who was gassed out. The leg kicks are hurt. You could actually stop him with the leg kicks.
Yep.
And he just did what Chase Sherman did and just like kind of followed around. Threw like a leg kick every like, I don't know, minute and 15 seconds or something, minute and a half. Like he should have turned into freaking Edson Barbosa at the end of that fight, just blasting leg kicks like crazy.
I don't understand Chase Sherman at all. I understand now that I can't predict his fights. Like I seem to guess every single one of them wrong, but he doesn't fight like a guy that's like lost 4 fights in a row in the UFC and is probably fighting for his job. Like you're right. There's no urgency. Like we've determined that he doesn't have a whole lot of single strike power for a guy his size, but he still managed to get some TKOs just by sheer attrition because he usually throws decent volume. But here, Williams was clearly fading. He spent like the first minute of the third round just chasing this half-assed sweaty takedown, and Sherman just like there was no reaction.
Yeah. You know what it felt like? If Mike Fridley, who's the head of Sherdog, called up Ben right now and said, hey Ben, I need you to write an article about Chase Sherman, and it needs to be done by 8 p.m. tonight. So that's East Coast time. Obviously, that's 1 hour and 4 minutes from now for those who are listening tomorrow or something. That would be like Chase Sherman fights like if Ben goes, oh, okay, and then just continues doing the show. And Mike said, hey, Ben, if you don't have it done by 8, you're fired. And he just lets me going off on a rants, doing my like, dude, seriously, and just like, it's 7:50, and he's like, oh, maybe I should try to do that article now,
and then I do a terrible article and I still don't get fired. That's what completes the Chase Sherman metaphor here.
No, you don't even send the article in.
Oh yeah, Yeah, screw it.
If he so this is what I feel like. Williams is so explosive, but gas tank is still an issue. Obviously, there's an avenue of victory with the calf kicks. Now he lacks power for heavyweight. To me, his stock dropped tonight. Like to me, this has everything to do with Carl Williams and nothing to do with Chase Sherman. Like I know where Chase Sherman stands. To me, Carl Williams is the guy that I thought was going to just smash Chase Sherman, and now I'm like shaking. And I know it's not always fair. Sometimes you can have a bad fight, but not against Chase Sherman.
There's 2 fights on this card where both fighters' stock dropped. This is one of them.
Okay. We'll see what's on. Can I do something? Can I put these next 2 fights together?
Absolutely.
We can get into X and O's, but that's all for like the preview show. Cody Stamann took on Douglas Silva de Andrade. Douglas Silva de Andrade won by unanimous decision. And before that, Ji Ying Kim, I'm sorry, I know I butchered that name, and Mandy Baum fought to a split technical decision, with Mandy Baum winning a split technical decision. There's definitely nothing I want to say technically about the female fight. Nothing at all. Is there anything you want to talk about technically about Stamann and de Andrade?
No, not in particular. Only thing I'd say is it's unfortunate that Stamann abandoned the wrestling, but I understand why, because he got de Andrade got gifted with a completely bullshit stand-up.
Yeah.
Like when you were on the bottom and you commit the foul and you get the warning, you shouldn't be rewarded with a stand-up.
Yeah. So this is what I'll say. The reason why I want to bring these 2 together. Now, Stamann wins on the Pride rules. Pride rules, 1 championship rules, he wins. Because the first 2 rounds were close. The 3rd round, he smashed him. But
yeah,
I don't think it could have been a 10-8 round. I saw a lot of people arguing for that. Okay. That's not what I want to talk about. I know you're probably similar to me and all the people in the chat. You have friends who watch, they text you about football and basketball and whatever. And I don't care. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, MMA is my sport. Yeah, I'm a Patriots fan and this and that. But generally speaking, this is a sport I'm passionate about. And you always want to like convert them. Hey, we're having fights over. Come on over. Like, this reminds me of how shitty our sport is. Just how fucked up our sport is. Because seriously, me and you do a preview show. There's 7 billion people in the world. There's nobody in the world, in the entire world, that I know of at least, that does a more in-depth preview show than me and you do.
Sure.
I remember somebody complained about they joked about the Zalgis versus who did he fight? He was supposed to fight. Who was Zalgis supposed to fight a week ago? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But low 3rd fight from the top. We did a 13-minute on just that fight. And people are like, oh my God, you didn't talk about it enough. I'm like, there's nobody in the world who's talking about this fight for 13 minutes other than us. Like there's previous shows that don't talk about the card for 13 minutes.
Yep.
But anyway, my point is, me and you are as hardcore as they come. You work full-time for Sherdog, the OG website that was, going to shows and Jeff Sherwood selling T-shirts in the back of his car and paying his own way. Like, we are as hardcore as they come. I don't know the rules of MMA. I don't know the rules, Ben. I don't know them. They talk to me. They say, this fighter can win knee pads for this fight, but this fight in this state, they don't. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? They can't win knee pads. They can win knee pads. One hand down is illegal. One hand up isn't. If the knee is intentional, it's disqualification. But if the referee says it's not intentional, it's not a DQ. You can take a point now, but you can't take a point later. You have guy gets a takedown, gets illegally kicked in the head, and then put the guy on the feet. Like, what did Stamann get for getting illegally kicked in the head? His opponent got benefit. Imagine this for a second. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant. Imagine this for a second. Imagine you're watching an NFL game. You have whatever, pick 2 teams. Patriots and Cowboys are playing. And the defensive, they're lining up, they're setting this, guy goes in motion. And the defensive end just jumps the count. You know, and I'm sorry to the Europeans, have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But before it snapped, he jumps across the line of scrimmage, and then they snap the ball, and the guy sacks the quarterback, and the referee blows the whistle and goes, "Oh no, defense jumped over the line of scrimmage, but we're going to give it a warning." And the offense is still going to lose those 10 yards on the sack. Like, that's basically what you just did a statement tonight. Am I wrong?
Nope. That's a pretty solid comparison there.
And what is the rule on, like, we score the third round, even though the third round wasn't even fought? And, like, what the fuck? Why is this so confusing?
He ruled that the foul was inadvertent and the fighter could not continue. Because if he decided it was flagrant, then it's a win by disqualification. Because he ruled it was inadvertent, it goes to a technical decision because they were past the halfway point of the fight. Now, where it really gets stupid is when a couple minutes later, he's like, "Oh, and also deduct a point from Kim."
Yeah, but I get the logic of it. Like, wait,
I get the logic too, but the judges had already turned their scorecards in. Like, I mean, here's the problem. And somebody, I put the comment up, faulted the North Carolina Athletic Commission for this, and sure, but the other problem is Bellator had a big card in Paris, and I mean, when like Jason Herzog, probably the best ref in the business, is over there, Chris Taglioni is over there, another one of probably the top 3 or 4, you get Dan Murgliata and some local guys that have never done a UFC before. That's why you have weird scorecards, weird ref decisions. Yeah, I mean, we got the B team.
Oh, and don't forget, like, Herzog has had some, and he's like, I agree, I think he's the best. But remember when he Shibli in the fight in Bellator, where there was a kick to the groin, but then he said it also hit his stomach, but he originally ruled it as a groin shot, and then he goes, well, actually, it looks like it hit him in the stomach. The guy says he can't go on, so that's TKO. But like, wait a minute, you already said it was a groin shot. So you acknowledge that you hit him in the groin, but now you're trying to get in that fighter's head and say, oh no, it's his stomach that's hurting. It's not his dick. You know
what?
Ball.
When you kick me in the balls, my stomach is what hurts.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. It just every single time. And like, I coach my son's 6 to 8-year-old flag football, and it is run better than a major MMA organization. I shouldn't say MMA organization. Better than a sport, because I know it's not the UFC. The sport of MMA is not ran as clearly as 6-year-olds playing flag football. Like, I don't know. Like, I hate the scoring the third round. I absolutely hate the scoring. I'll tell you why. Like, how far along in the third round do they have to fight for us to score the round?
Anything.
Okay. So imagine me and you are fighting each other. Okay. Where it's 1 round each. We start the fight off. 5 seconds in the round, I hit you with a nice clean right hand. Boom. Nice clean right hand. The next strike I throw, I kick you in the balls. You can't continue. You score that round. I landed 1 punch. I win that round 29. I win the fight 29-28.
Yep. It's unfair, but it's what we've got. But the thing is, this fight is almost the exception that justifies the rule, because once this fight stopped, I was like, I don't care about the point deduction. I don't care who wins. Cut both these women.
Yeah, I you know why I'm passionate right now? And I agree. I agree with that part. Like, these 2 women, it's not a lot of high stakes in this. But the issue I have is, like, it's every fucking week. It's every week we're talking about this shit with different rules and the different, like, imagine other sports. Just think, imagine you watching the NBA tonight, and Celtics are playing, and they're playing in Boston, but because they're playing in Boston, there's a 4-point shot. And because they're playing in Boston, you can actually pick up the ball and take 4 steps on your layup instead of, like, it is. How many times we got to say we got to get all the major organizations together, all the best referees, all the best commission, all these things together and fix this sport? Like, Jesus Christ. And honestly, if you went by my scorecard, hold on a second. If you went by my scorecard tonight, I don't know how you scored the fight. I scored 20. I scored it I scored it. So I would have had 30. I scored 28-27 for Kim with the 2 points. I thought she won all 3 rounds, and then minus the 2-point deduction.
Yeah.
So I actually saying to myself, sorry about my dog. Actually saying to myself, like, Bomb can't continue, and that if you went by my scorecard, she's going to lose the fight because she can't continue because she got illegally struck. She doesn't win a disqualification.
Right.
If you go by my scorecard, she's going to lose the fight. Like,
right.
What a fucked up sport.
And that, I mean, that's down to a judgment call by the ref because he ruled that it was inadvertent. Otherwise, it would have just been a DQ win. But can we talk for a minute about Baum's reaction? Because she got struck in the temple by a knee that glanced off her shoulder first.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't see.
Yeah.
This reminds me of an episode of Beavis and Butthead where it's like one where they get involved with this ambulance chasing lawyer. And they have to like pretend that they got hurt in a car wreck. So Beavis is wearing this fake like neck brace. He's like, oh, my leg. I mean, my neck. Like, that's Mandy Baum tonight. Like, dude, like, if a knee to the side of your head made it so you can't see, you should have been straight to the hospital on a backboard.
Yeah.
Because something done got knocked loose inside your skull.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to hey, Jeff, that's a very good point. So I'll give you got me on that one. I'll give less. You have to read the but in fairness, imagine if that happened every single week. Imagine if that happened every single week. It seemed like was it Key and Peele? I think it was Key and Peele. You ever watch those guys?
Yeah.
Where one of them was gonna go get like a marijuana card and he just like keeps making up injuries. He's just like, hey, tell me you have a headache or something. He's like making up like leprosy. that's what I hate to like go at like a fighter because you don't really know how hurt they really are. But yeah, this one was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Aljamain Sterling would be proud. Anything else you want to talk about this? I know I'm sorry I went on a rant and no. I feel like I need to start taking notes on the rules better because, like, I can't keep track. Like,
it'll just
we need a chart.
You more.
We need a chart. Like, okay, this is the rule. Go down. Okay, where are we? We're in California. Okay, here's, Jesus Christ, just fix this sport, please. Before that, Brian Battle took on Gabe Green. Perfect night for Brian Battle, except that he missed weight miserably. But other than that, in his home state, Gabe Green runs out of Berserker and just gets starched. You can't run at a guy in the UFC just throwing 15 punches with that. You just can't do that.
You can't do that. And yeah, poor Brian Battle. He's the hometown hero, the only fighter from Charlotte on the whole card. And whatever trip to, like some barbecue or hot chicken joint he went to cost him $50,000. He absolutely would have gotten a bonus tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And North Carolina, man, they got some good barbecue.
Exactly.
I'm gonna guess that's what Matt, like you did a little rundown of Matt Brown and Court McGee, like talking about like this is sponsored by like chewing tobacco. And I think like barbecue would fit that. Like Matt Brown's got himself like nice ribs right now.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he's got that like the time when you get that barbecue sauce stuck in your nails for days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, discoloring. Yeah. The only thing I thought was weird about this fight was the placement on the card. You have the Ultimate Fighter winner who's now 4-1 in the UFC. It's in his home state. He's the guy on the card. Like, why is it below Ji Young Kim and Mandy Baum?
Yeah, I have no idea. And the card was in so much flux over the last week or two that they had opportunity to move it further up the card, but they didn't. They could have promoted it, and they didn't. So hey,
if it now rankings wise, this shouldn't be over Morono versus Mins, like rankings wise. But
sure.
But if it opened up the main card, I go, yeah, I get it. Like getting the guy over. Like, yeah, that was something that was surprised. But he's 4-1 now in the UFC. I'm not as high on Brian Battle as some of the guys. Some of the guys in the chat were going crazy. Like,
Yeah.
some of the guys are saying he beat Ian Garry. Like, come on,
Oh.
let's not get crazy. Before that, Jessica Rose Clark took on Tanara Lisbon. Lisbon win by third round submission. Talk to me about her performance. I thought she looked great.
I thought you looked sensational. You know, I without you there, I flew off the handle. I picked upsets to open up the night. I picked Lisboa over Clark. I picked Battle over Green. Nailed both. But I was impressed by how well developed Lisboa's ground game looked. Because, yeah, obviously she got the win with the submission. But even in the first round, she was the first one to take the fight to the ground. And she got an emphatic takedown. Like, she looked comfortable in every phase. She looked a lot better than you would expect a Muay Thai convert in her early 30s with 7 professional fights to look. Looking at her, I think her best future probably lies at 125. But if she wants to stay at 135, it's an even shallower division. I mean, Jessica Rose Clark is not great, but there are plenty of other 135ers that are not great either. And I mean, she could probably win fights in either division. I'm not calling her a future title contender yet, but I was pleasantly surprised by how good she looked, even for someone who picked her to win.
Yeah, Jessica Rose Clark is now getting out grappled by Muay Thai strikers. That's not a good sign. But yeah, I agree with everything you said about Lisboa. Like, she looked great, like well rounded. Someone I definitely like moving forward. So there you guys have it. We have covered all 11 fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. Do we have the awards, Ben?
We do. We have no fight of the night. We have 4 performances of the night. So, if you're reading this or if you're listening to this, you probably already know who actually won. But just throw out whom you would have given the awards to. We'll throw something up on the screen.
Yeah, and I don't know who won, but I'm going to give who I would have given to Matt Brown for sure.
Ding, ding.
Ian Garry.
Ding, ding, ding.
Jailton Almeida.
Ding, ding, ding.
And Carlos Ulberg.
You did it. 4
there you
for 4.
Go. The UFC did.
Nailed it.
So if anybody has anything different, we'll read them. Ben, would you have done anything different?
If Battle had made weight, would you bump one of these 4 guys for him?
Absolutely.
Who are you bumping?
Ulberg, just because he was a huge favorite.
Almeida was a bigger favorite.
Main event.
True. All right.
And yeah, all right. Maybe I go 5. Maybe I give out 5 of them. But yeah, Battle definitely would have been. He would have been the first one.
Hopefully, I mean,
14-second knockout.
Hopefully, like they didn't give him an official award, but maybe they backstage they slipped him like a thick book of like McDonald's bucks or gift certificates. Or like
yeah. Give him like Subway instead.
Or give him like, look, I got the Subway punch card and it's already got 11 punches in it. You just need to buy one more and you get a free sub. There you go.
Yeah.
Eat fresh, homie. Like,
he's gonna eat healthy, so it's gonna be like he's missing weight, so you give him like I don't know, gift certificate to like Jenny Craig or something.
Oh shit.
I'm talking shit. Like, I need it myself. Only person I got shingles. I hope I lost some weight. Like, drink a lot of fluids. I'm sitting there hitting like friggin' Slurpees and shit. Got the Cumberland Farms, hush puppy going. All right, so Bass would have gave it to Morano instead of who didn't instead of
Ulberg. Yeah, Poland. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Bass is wrong. So Andrade statement for Fight Night. Yeah, I kind of saw that. It was good.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't mention this. I'm sorry because I went on a rant. Cody Stamen is appealing the decision. I hope he wins. He's not going to.
No.
Because you can't overturn a decision like saying, hey, that's a bad decision. But there's an argument for him being, hey, I lost the first round. I was on top. I should have stayed that position. If I hold that position, I probably win the round and thus win the fight. So, yeah, I hope it gets overturned. It probably won't because we don't ever fix anything in MMA. But, yeah, if he doesn't win this, then why are we even having appeals? Do you agree with me, or you agree that it should be overturned or no? I'm not saying a win. I'm not saying a win for him because The reason why I'm not saying win is because you can't guarantee that if he holds a position, he would have won the round. You don't know if he would have held it. So I'm not saying he should win, but I'm saying he should turn to a no contest.
I mean, I would be fine with that, but this is about the 100th most controversial thing that, I would reverse. I mean, we have people that didn't tap and got called out for a technical submission.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That don't get reversed.
Yeah,
where
that's a good
literally, exactly how, what should have happened. And those don't get fixed.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. That's what, that's why the best. I mean, it's not going to get overturned. I know it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it should. All right, let's get to, we got the Bulls and the Bears. We got the cut list. We got Dude Seriously. Which one do you want to
do? Dude Seriously.
All right. I have a bunch, but I'll let you go first.
Really the only one I have is probably going to be Gabe Green. I mean, no, the every time I turn the sound on, I turn it back off really quickly. Like Jessica Rose Clark had 8 fights in the UFC coming into this. How does the entire UFC booth start calling her Rose Clark? Like she has a dual first name, not a dual last name.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Like Rose Clark is almost the only wrong thing you can call her.
Oh, I got you.
You can call her Jessica. You can call her Jessica Rose. You can call her Jessie. You can just call her Clark. Rose Clark is almost the only wrong combination of names you can call her. And DC and Cruz both started doing it. That's ironically, considering that Cruz caused a dust up by accusing DC of not doing his homework. Like, how do you get something that basic wrong? If you're going to get names wrong over and over again, take Buffer's job. Anyway, not even on the card, but Pete Rodriguez, dude, seriously, you're going to keep trying to make 155? You got sick last time, and this time you got sick and had to admit it had to do with your weight cut. Dude, just you're a welterweight.
Yeah. I mean, how many times you have to break down the Natan Levy versus Pete Rodriguez fight? I want to throw out one of Marcus Mustard's. I think this is a great one. It was actually, I had the same thing on my list. So it was Brian Battle calling out Ian Garry, the blonde hair doofus, as he dyed his own hair blonde. Good call there, Marcus Mustard. I had a very similar one. I'll throw some out there. Well, Al McDonald is saying, dude, seriously, Alan Rozenstruik, Rozenstruik, how long is it going to take you to learn how to wrestle? I'm going to tell you right now, some people will never learn how to wrestle. Yep. Trust me. I'm a wrestling coach. Trust me. I've had guys who spend a lot more time wrestling and still can't wrestle. Or still doing the same thing. I'm going to go after John Anik when he said that Yi Jin Kim has a lot of potential now that she's lost 5 fights in the UFC and she's only 33 years old. Dude, seriously, 0-5 and 33, and she's got a lot of potential. Dude, seriously.
I mean, that's. Oof.
I love DC. I know people hate him I probably just because I could see me just hanging out with DC. But DC, you're my guy when it comes to wrestling. But dude, seriously, you can't be wrong and have Dominic Cruz be right. What a takedown is in wrestling. If a guy has a deep whizzer and it is not a takedown, dude, seriously, you commentated the NCAA Wrestling Championship last year. Dude, seriously, come on. You got to know that.
It's weird.
Dominic, speaking, and I don't want to give Dominic Cruz too, dude, seriously, get over the Keith Peterson thing. It's so it's no one finds it funny anymore. It's so. You come off such a sore loser. It was the stoppage was fine. Dude, seriously, let it go.
Yep.
And my last one, Ian Garry was almost perfect tonight, except for one thing. They announced that he's going to go train with middleweight champion Izzy Adesanya. Dude, if you're going to train with a middleweight, dude, seriously, go look at my boy Bo Nickel. What are you doing? Dude, seriously? Come on. Your name's the future. We'll go with the real future. All right. Cut list or Bulls and the Bears?
Oh, cut list.
All right. So somebody, Mushy Slime still likes the Keith Peterson stuff. So, all right. If Mushy Slime still likes it, keep doing it, Dominic Cruz. I'm sorry. What'd you say? The cut list?
Yeah.
All right. So the cut list is, and I know, guys, some people who always watch the show say, hey, Q always repeating, because sometimes we have new listeners. Maybe every once in a while we get at least one new listener. The cut list is a way that it's pretty self-explanatory. If both me and Ben, so both of us, say that a fighter should no longer be in the UFC, we give the UFC permission to cut them. Ben, I'm cleaning house. I got 5.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 4, but I might be missing one.
All right, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Jessica Rose Clark. It's been fun.
3 losses in a row.
3 losses in a row. Not looked great in any of them. She's 35.
Yeah, sub 3 in a row too. Yep, cut list. Next.
And Mandy Baum and Ji Young Kim are both gone.
Ooh, so 5 losses in a row for Ji Young Kim. She is definitely gone. Ben, Mandy Baum won. I can't cut her.
She won, but she deserved to lose, and she quit. Like, get that weak shit out of my house. Flyweight is not that badly in need of bodies.
Wow, Ben, I'm sorry. I'm saving her. She won.
Okay.
Mandy Baum. Wait, where's she from? Was she from what? Germany? Where's she from?
She's German. Yep.
Yeah, we need the German fans. The German fans would like rise against that if we get rid of Mandy Baum off a win. I'm saving Mandy Baum.
I mean, they're already rioting because of Dustin Stoltzfus. So yeah, okay, you can keep her. Another person who probably deserved to win, at least in my mind, but I'm cutting anyway, is Chase Sherman.
Chase Sherman.
We know it's not going to happen. Like, Chase Sherman's nickname should be the Immortal, like, because his UFC career will not die, but he's not getting better. We know he's a known quantity, and that quantity is not good.
When you know how they dedicate buildings after people and different names for.
Yeah.
Should we name the cut list the Chase Sherman cut list?
Yeah.
Or is that disrespectful to Sam Alvey? Because I don't know who's been on it more. Sam Alvey was on it for a long time.
That's true.
Well, you know what? In fairness, William Knight was the only person that was on the cut list who didn't fight that night. Well, that's not true. I should say scheduled. We have cut people who didn't fight, but scheduled to fight that night. He was on the cut list 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, Chase Sherman. So the 2 people that you were saving. So I saved Mandy Baum. The 2 people you were saving. I hate to do this. The 2 veterans, but Court McGee. He's lost 5 out of 7. He's got knocked out in back-to-back fights. It's time to me to get rid of Court McGee. But you saved Court McGee, and the other one I had. Another guy that I still think he's talented, but after 3 losses in a row, Tim Means. I was cutting Tim Means. He's had an extremely long run in the UFC. Both those guys.
And you know what? If he weren't Tim Means, I'd be more behind it. But he strikes me as a guy that's going to be able to walk away when it's time. But you know what? If it helps for him to be shown the door by the UFC, then I'm fine with that.
Well, I'll say this. Usually when I cut someone, I don't see like talent in them. Like Tim Means could go to Bellator and not saying he's going to win the title, but he'd be a top 5 contender.
And there's still guys in the UFC he could beat, but
yeah, Tim Means could, if he beat a top 20 guy next week, like it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, you slot him in against Matt Brown or Court McGee tonight, and he would have been the favorite.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we were talking about, like who could Matt Brown face next to get the knock? Tim Means ain't the guy.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get to the Bulls and the Bills. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. If things going good, it's a bull stock. If it's going bad, it's a bear stock or bear market. We do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1. Do you want to go positive? Or do you want to go negative?
I guess we might as well stay negative.
All right, negative. So these are people who did not have a good night. You mind if I go first?
Go for it.
All right. I'm going to go with Danny Rodriguez. Lost back-to-back fights. Obviously can't get over the hump. Now he's losing to prospects. We've talked about welterweight. That division is not the division take a loss in. I mean, he's so far away from a title shot. I mean, he's not even the same galaxy right now, unfortunately. Number 2, Anthony Smith. I mean, he's that is the division that you could lose some and be right back in there. But he looks done as a fighter. Back-to-back fight. He hasn't won a fight in nearly 2 years. Not looking too good. And my number one is the one I want to rant on. It seems like this is on my Bears list a lot, but it's the rules, the commissions, the refs, the judges, that everything, put them all together. Anything that's not the actual fighters hitting each other, it's everything else that goes along with sport. To me, I hate the lack of professionalism in the sport. So there's my Bears. Ben, you want to read Bass's Bears before you give yours?
Yeah, Bass's Bears. Mandy Bohm, North Carolina. Everything to do with, like, kind of what you said. All the good refs and judges are trans, and thus we're not allowed into the building. Taking a little dig at North Carolina's legislation. And Sherman. Yeah.
All right, let's hear your Bears.
You know what? Like, I completely agree with you on the everything outside of what actually happened in the cage and a little bit of what happened in it, thanks to just some really bad reffing tonight by multiple culprits. But stepping away from that, Ior Potieria came to the UFC with a certain amount of promise. I mean, had a really sparkling record, had some individually good skills, has some raw athleticism, and it just hasn't translated yet. Like, he has one win. It isn't a great one, and he's looked bad in his other fights. He just doesn't look like UFC quality material. That's unfortunate. Anthony Smith, I didn't put him on my cut list, but I wish he'd retire. And this is a guy who, as recently as 18 months ago, even after the loss to Jones, even after the loss to Teixeira, I still thought he had a bit of life left in him, and just still thought he was a feel-good, unexpected success story, like his whole last run in the UFC. That's over. He doesn't look like he wants to be out there, and if he doesn't want to be, then I don't want to see him out there. So that's the bad one for me. And lastly, Court McGee, another guy that was a feel-good story for a real long time, just on a personal level. You know, a guy that I don't know him personally that well. I mean, I've shaken his hand once and deeply regretted it for a week. But you know, his story is out there that anybody can see and hear. And for him to go from that to what he's been in the UFC is a really heartwarming story. And this is the end of that story, and it's not been pretty.
Yeah, the guy's already won in life.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing, because not many people are going to be able to come back from what he came back from. I want to answer Ben Cooley's question. He asked me, like, because I say that I think Tim Means could be successful in Bellator. I'm not thinking he's going to win the title or anything like that, but looking at their welterweight division, like, I go quickly. Like, the number 10 guy is Sabo Hamasi. I take Tim Means over him. There's no tape study. So Lorenz Larkin, I think he could win that fight. I'm not saying he would, but I think he could. Number 8's Brendan Ward. I think he could win that fight. Number 7's Neiman Grayson. I think he could win that fight. I'm not saying he would beat these guys.
Yeah.
But now take that compared to the UFC's top 10 division. Come on.
Yeah.
But like, who's number 10 in the UFC's? Or if we ever went by, more importantly, by Sherdog. Like, the number 10 Sherdog is,
it's Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah, Maddalena was murdered.
Yeah.
Like that's the difference. Jack Della Maddalena or Saba Hamasi.
Yeah.
Like, tough call. And so it wasn't more me trying to bash Bellator. Just be saying, like, he still could be very successful. That's my point. He's still, like, tough. Let's go to the Bulls. The Bulls obviously is the list you want to be on. Ben, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay. Bulls, Tainara Lisboa. They put her in the opening fight of the card to kind of hedge their bets in case she shit the bed. They matched her up against Jessica Rose Clark to try and guard against that possibility, and she could not have looked any better. Dominant win, and pre-answered some of the questions that would have been asked if she just knocked out Clark in the first round. Like, if she knocks out Clark in 3 minutes, everyone's like, well, what's it going to look like when someone takes her down? We don't have to ask that now. Like, she ran game on someone in Clark that generally, I mean, she's been tapped out, but she also out-wrestled her and just seemed comfortable in transition. Like, great night for her.
I agree. She looked great.
Alex Morono, I'm not an objective source on this, obviously, but another solid win, puts that ugly loss behind him, continues to show willingness to flex his ground game when it suits him. Still don't think he's a top 10 guy. Like, he just gets caught too often, won't string together enough wins. But if he keeps winning 2 for every one he loses, he's going to make that goal of getting 30 fights in the UFC. I want to see it. Ian Garry. When you're the third fighter from the top and you kind of steal the show,
yeah,
that says good things. I mean, obviously you're set up for that because you're third from the top, and neither of the guys in the top 2 fights had a 15-minute movie made about them that they played before you walked out.
yeah.
So, I mean, the UFC is putting some eggs in his basket, but, long as he keeps winning and doesn't start committing McGregor-esque fuck-ups outside the cage, I think stardom is probably there for the taking. What's up? Oh, one more, Bull. Marcel Dorf. I know it must be some weird hour in the Netherlands, but always good, to have you drop in on us. For those of you who don't know,
where's the Netherlands? Where's that?
Somewhere in the third world. I think it's like between Outer Mongolia and Inner Mongolia.
Oh, okay. I know.
I'm just kidding. It's Holland. Like, it's North Central Europe. Yeah. Anyway, always good to hear from Marcel Dorf.
Yeah, he's a man. I like how Marcel's like, we've already given out tons of bonuses. He's like, yeah, she deserves it too. Yeah, it's always easy to give other people's money away. Yeah. No, I agree. She looked absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I had Ian Garry as my number 1. I think everybody did. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. He's the story to me. You know what? A couple of reasons story, because one, what he said, how he did it, but also he wasn't the given. Like, it was a given tonight that Jailton Almeida was probably going to win.
Sure.
Like, there was big questions about Ian Garry coming in, and he passed that day. He aced it. So I'll leave him off my list just to be different. But I'll go Carlos Oberg. I mean, 4 wins in a row, 3 stoppages in a row. He looks like he's rising up. Like, he looks fantastic. Number 2, Johnny Walker. It wasn't the most fun fight. It wasn't the most fun anything, but 3 wins in a row, is got him talking. And when he's running in and challenging the champion, and yeah, didn't make a lot of sense, but it's not that far off from a guy that, we were starting to thinking he was a bum. And then Jailton Almeida. I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. We're saying who's he'd be favored against. Is he the best grappler in UFC heavyweight division? All this stuff, all the questions. The fact that we're even asking these questions tells you everything you need to know. So sorry about that. I think overall the UFC won tonight, because if you take the top 4 fights, the guy that they wanted to win won. Promotional wise.
Oh yeah,
Almeida, Walker, obviously Ian Garry, Carlos Oberg. The guys they wanted to win won. So, all right, Ben, let's get to the grade of the card. What was your grade?
I'll give the card a B-. There were some individually impressive performances, but lots, like any card that one of the big storylines is terrible reffing and terrible scorecards, just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And probably just on a personal level, a couple of the losses just kind of felt bad. Like, it felt bad to see Court McGee get flattened, felt bad to see Anthony Smith just kind of not being very lion-hearted. So, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly totally agree with everything you said. That's one thing I felt the same thing, which I should have mentioned that when we were talking about Matt Brown. It's exciting to see Matt Brown win. I would have been so much more excited if that was guy making his UFC debut, guy 1-0 in the UFC. If that was against Gabe Green instead of Court McGee, you'd feel a lot better. Nothing against Gabe Green, but like, just you just don't want to see old veteran like Court McGee get blasted.
Exactly.
I give it a C. Same thing. It comes down to 2 things. Everything you said about the commission and all that, like, I hate, like, that just made me so. I was like, I'm always angry when this shit happens, but for some reason I was like extra angry. Might be the medication I'm on. That might be a little bit of it. But so that, and we didn't have a barn burner fight. Like, we missed like one of those. I mean, the best fight was probably Stamen DeAndrade, which also still has a little like stain on it because of what happened. And, we don't know if the right guy won, and based on the scorecards, he deserved it. But I mean, like, what would have happened? So I give it like a C.
Yeah.
Toughest question, Ben. And now a couple of people are saying, seem like everyone else is kind of a little happy. Kyle Lahi goes B, Al McDonald goes B-. So everyone's a little bit more on your scoring than mine. Toughest question always, who is our listener of the night?
You know what? Pretty live chat this afternoon. A lot of our regulars here. Jeff Baruman made me laugh a couple times. He's definitely in the running, but I think I'm going to give it to Charlie Eibling. He made me laugh a few times. He was the first one to that I saw that jumped out on the whole, how in the hell does Daniel Cormier not understand the rules of wrestling thing? So congratulations, Charlie Eibling. You're my listener of the night.
My listener of the night is obviously we have a big weekend. We'll be doing a preview and all that stuff, but it is Mother's Day weekend. So my listener tonight is anybody who listens to this show who is a mom. You are my listener tonight. Yes, I'm being corny, but I'm not going to go Bill Burr. Yeah, I'm not going to say, hey, hardest job in the world. We're not going to go straight Bill Burr arguing that thing. But obviously, we love our moms out there. Ben, to your wife, I know she's the mother, so happy Mother's Day to her. Obviously, same to my mother and of course, my wife. So I can only speak for me, but I'm sure Ben thinks the same thing.
Your wife and my wife are the only mothers who listen to this show, and they don't want to. They just have to because they're in the next room.
Yeah,
this is a sausage party.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Maybe there's a mom out there somewhere who listens, but I know that I wouldn't be able to do this without the help of my wife who's taking care of the kids and all that good stuff. And you're doing the same thing. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week. We'll be recapping UFC. I don't know what number it is, but it's Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill card. Not the best card, but we'll try to make it as fun as possible. He's Ben. I'm Keith. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you next time.